Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about PCR primer design. You know that RNA primers are used by all living organisms in the initiation of the synthesis of a new strand of the DNA, which means all the DNA polymerases require a free 3' OH group of an existing primer or an existing nucleotide for its initiation. And this free OH terminal is known as a primer terminus, and that is required for all DNA polymerases to extend the newly synthesized strand. They are the RNA primers used. Now, when we come to such reactions like PCR, we require primers for amplification, in vitro amplification in PCR. There we use synthetic primers. Synthetic primers are chemically synthesized nucleotides, usually of DNA, which can be customized to anneal to a specific site or a target site in the DNA template. In solution, the primer spontaneously hybridizes with this template or target DNA through Watson-Crick base pairing before being extended by the DNA polymerase. So, this specificity of DNA amplification in a PCR reaction is actually determined by the specific hybridization or using Watson-Crick base pairing with these primer and the template DNA. A good primer design is essential or critical for successful reaction of PCR. The primer design for PCR oligonucleotide primers are necessary for the running of these PCR reaction. So, a good primer design is a critical component in the PCR reaction. One needs to design primers that are complementary to the template region of the DNA. They are synthesized chemically by joining nucleotides together. There are various factors that we need to consider while designing a good primer. Here is a list of factors that needs to be considered. Primer length is one significant factor. Primer melting temperature, primer annealing temperature, GC content of the primer, GC clamps, then primer secondary structures like hairpins, self-dimers, cross-dimers, etc. Repeats, then runs, 3' end stability of the primer. Then we need to avoid template secondary structures, avoid cross homologies, amplicon length. Then amplicon length means the length of the product that is formed between the forward and reverse primers. Then product position, TM of the product, melting temperature of the product. So, these are various factors that influence the quality of the primer. While designing a primer, you have to take into account or take into consideration such factors for obtaining a good primer. The first one, that is the primer length. Optimal length of the PCR primer is about 15 to 22 base pairs. In one of the previous sessions, we discussed that maybe that is about 30 or 35 or nucleotide length primer is all that can be used for more specificity. But we also discussed some of the statistical concerns with the example of the coin toss, which means that the primer length of 18 to 22 is sufficient for ensuring the specificity in a DNA template. So, in that case, you may not need to use such lengthy primers like 30 or 35. 18 to 22 base pair length is sufficient for ensuring the specificity. This length is long enough for adequate specificity and short enough for the primers to bind easily to the template at the annealing temperature. So if you are going for a longer length, of course your specificity is not compromised, but the issue is that it will not easily bind to the target. With the increase in the primer length, the primer will find it difficult to bind to the target, and also you require better annealing temperatures compared to the lower annealing temperatures when you are going for such primers. Then primer melting temperature is another factor. Primer melting temperature, or TM, by definition is the temperature at which one half of the DNA duplex will dissociate to become the single stranded one. So it indicates the duplex stability. The optimal melting temperature for the primers is 60 to 64 with an ideal temperature of 62, which is based on the typical cycling and reaction conditions and the optimum temperature for the PCR enzyme function. You may note that normally the DNA melts, the template DNA melts maybe about 70 degrees Celsius, and it completely melts at 94 degrees Celsius. But the primer required to melt and anneal, melt at the annealing temperature or nearby the annealing temperature of the template DNA. So the melting temperature of the primer should be low, like 62 or within the range of 60 to 64, so that you can easily anneal it with the temperature at the annealing temperature. Okay. With the template DNA at the annealing temperature. Okay. Primers with melting temperatures above 65 degrees Celsius have a tendency for secondary annealing. The GC content of the sequence gives a fair indication of the primer melting temperature. So this GC content of the sequence, if it is high, then that means TM will be high. If the GC content is low, it will be easy to dissociate, so that the TM will be low. So from the GC content itself, we can predict the approximate TM value of a primer. The annealing temperature, or TA, chosen for a PCR relies directly on the length and composition of the primers. It is a few degrees, that is 4 to 6 degrees lower than the melting temperature of the primer. So the primer melting temperature may be 62 to 64 or in that range, or 60 to 64 in that range. So in that case, the annealing temperature of the primer should be 4 to 6 degrees lower than that of the melting temperature. Too high annealing temperature of the primer will produce insufficient primer template hybridization. So if you are setting a high temperature for the primer annealing, means for example primer melts at 62 and you are setting annealing temperature 2 degrees lower, then the primer will not stably hybridize with the template DNA because it is so close to the melting temperature. Too low TA may possibly lead to non-specific products caused by a high number of base pair mismatches. So if you are bringing down this TA too low, maybe instead of 56 or 58, if you are bringing down this annealing temperature to 50 or 45, then non-specific priming will occur, and because of base pair mismatches and specificity of the PCR reaction will be lost. The next factor is GC content. The GC content of these primer is an important factor. Even it determines the melting temperature of the primer, and the number of G's and C's in the primer as a percentage of the total bases is the GC content, and it should be 40 to 60%. So the overall GC content of the primer should be in between 40 to 60%. Almost half of the sequence should be GC pairs. And you can have such online softwares into which you can give the oligonucleotide sequence, and it will calculate, automatically calculate the GC content from the sequence of the target's DNA, and the melting temperature and molecular weight, etc., can be determined from that software which is available online. So various primer designing softwares will calculate the melting temperature based on the GC content of the provided sequence. Okay. GC clamp is another factor, and that is the presence of GC base pairs within the last 5 bases of a 3' end of the primers. So the primers which will have a range of or a length of 18 to 22 base pairs or more. So near the 3' end of the primers, if you are considering last 5 bases at the near the 3' end of the primers, the GC content actually the content of the GC at the last 5 base pairs determine how strong it will bind. So usually about 3 G's or C's in the last 5 base pairs will be a better primer. More than that will not be good, because if, for example, all the last 5 bases in the 3' end of the primers if that were G or C, then that means it forms a very strong bonding, and that will be quite difficult to dissociate. The primers will be quite difficult to dissociate and again join with the target DNA. So in the last 5 bases of the 3' end of the primer, we can have at least half of them, half of the last 5 bases, or 3 of the half of the last 5 bases in the primer, maybe G or C. So it will be a sufficient clamp to stick on to the template DNA, and it will not be too strong to clamp it strongly without dissociating. So this is the requirement at the 3' end of the primers. So GC content should be about 50 to 60%. That means at least more than 3 G or C in the 3' end of the primer is not advisable. Then primary and secondary structures, that is also having some role. The presence of the primer secondary structures produced by the intermolecular or intramolecular interactions can lead to poor or no yield of the products. For example, the primers can form secondary structures, because if it is a long primer like 22 base pair or more, then there is a possibility of forming secondary structures within that sequence. They adversely affect the primer template annealing, and thus the amplification. They greatly reduce the availability of the primers to the reaction. For example, our formation of hairpin loops between, if there is self-complementarity in the primer, then that can form hairpin loops within the primer sequence. It can form self-dimers. For example, 2 primers can form, it can pair together so that it will form a self-dimer. Then because the primer, forward and reverse primer can have a specificity, or then if such a complementarity is there for forward and reverse, then it can form self-dimers. Then cross dimers. So these are all different possibilities between different primers. So it will form secondary structures by binding with its own sequences. Hairpins can be represented something like this. So it is formed by intramolecular interaction within the primer and should be avoided. Optimally, the 3' end of the hairpin with a delta G of -2 kcal per mole and an internal hairpin loop with a delta G of -3 kcal per mole is tolerated generally. So that is the allowable range. So this is a primer, and there is a complementarity in this region. So both the ends, if it is complementary, that will pair together. So it will form a loop-like structure. So this is a hairpin loop formation in a primer. So such type of complementary regions at both ends should be avoided to prevent the loop formation, hairpin loop formation of the primer. So if such a structure is formed, this primer will not be able to bind to the template DNA and start the DNA synthesis process. So this is a harmless hairpin formation. For example, the in between regions of the primer is joined together, but still there is some other regions were available for binding. So this region can bind. So it is considered somewhat harmless hairpin formation, but still such secondary structures, especially in the form of hairpins, will affect the quality of the primer. Self-dimers is another example in which we have, for example, this is a primer. This is the same forward primer, for example. This is the same primer. If two primer molecules, same primer molecule, this is GGG, AAA, something like that, and this is the same thing. So the same primer molecule, forward or reverse, the same primer molecule can pair between its own sequence. So this type of self-dimer formation is another type of secondary structure that affects the quality of the primer. A primer self-dimer is formed by intermolecular interactions between it's not intramolecular, intermolecular interactions between two, that's the same sense primers. So it's a forward, either forward or reverse. So it's the primer is the same, where the primer is a homologous to itself. And generally a large amount of primers are used in PCR compared to the amount of the target gene. When primers form intramolecular dimers much more readily than hybridizing to target DNA, they reduce the product yield. Optimally, a 3' end self-dimer with a delta G of 5 kcal per mole and an internal self-dimer with a delta G of -6 kcal per mole is tolerated. So this is the allowable range of self-dimer formation, or the energy level of the self-dimers in a PCR reaction, and this much self-complementarity or self-dimer formation is tolerated, above which it is not acceptable. Then cross-dimer is another one, and this is another example where we have a forward and reverse primer. The primer cross-dimers are formed by intermolecular interaction between the sense and anti-sense primers, or the forward and reverse primers. So in the previous case, primer dimer is formed between the same forward and forward primer, or reverse and reverse primer, same sense primer. But in the cross dimer, actually we have a forward and reverse primer pairing together with their own complementary regions. So it's an intramolecular interaction between sense and antisense, or forward and reverse primers. Optimally, a 3' end cross dimer with a delta G of -5 kcal per mole and an internal cross dimer with -6 kcal per mole is tolerated generally. This is just like that of the previous case. Another factor is repeats. A repeat is a dinucleotide occurring many times consecutively and should be avoided because they can misprime. For example, AT, 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 it's a dimer unit repeating many times. So a maximum number of dimer unit nucleotides repeats acceptable in an oligonucleotide or primer is 4 dinucleotides. So if a primer is designed with more such sequences where such repeating units were there, then the primer can misalign, or it can the alignment of the primer with the target DNA sequence can be misplaced, because the same repeating units are there, and it will there is a possibility of mispriming with the target sequence, because during the template binding, any AT can pair with the AT at the other end. So there is a possibility of mispriming. Instead of specifically targeting priming with the target DNA, it may misalign and another AT pair will start with the second AT pair. So that type of mispriming or position misplacement may be there if such a repeated dinucleotide units were present in the primers. Then another one is runs. That is primers with long runs of single bases should generally be avoided, as they can also misprime. For example, A, G, C, then a stretch of G's, G, 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 or A, T, G, 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 G. So if such a run of single sequence multiple sequences or maybe four or five Gs or Cs were there in the primer, and that also result in mispriming by alignment or misalignment of the concerned sequences with the template. So this type of repeats, either dinucleotide repeats or single base runs, multiple repeats of the same nucleotide in the primer sequence will result in the loss of its specificity. It is and another point is a 3' end stability, and it is the maximum delta G value of the 5 bases at the 3' end. An unstable 3' end with less negative delta G will result in less false priming. So as we discussed in previous slides, there should be in the last at least 3 GCs should be there in the last 5 bases of the primer at the 3' end. So that will be the optimal one, and if it is too low, then it will not bind strongly, and if it is too high, then the binding will be so strong that it will be quite difficult for the primer to detach. So better point will be that about 3 GC pairs should be there at the 5' end of the primer. So that is that's about the stability of a 3' end. And the next factor is template secondary structure formation. So for a good priming, these template secondary structure formation should be avoided. A single stranded nucleotide sequence is highly unstable, and normally it folds into different conformations or the secondary structures. That's a random event. The stability of these template secondary structures depends largely on their free energy and the melting temperature, that is a Tm. So usually the single stranded template DNA will not stay single stranded for long if such a possibilities or sequence similarities or were there, or self-complementarity is there in the same template, then there is a possibility of forming secondary structures within the same template DNA. Consideration of template secondary structures is important in designing primers, especially in qPCR primer design or quantitative PCR primer design. If primers are designed on a secondary structures which is stable even above the annealing temperature, the primers are unable to bind to the template and the yield of the PCR product is significantly affected. Hence, it is important to design primers in the regions of the template that do not form stable secondary structures during the PCR reaction. So you have to avoid the regions, or you have to avoid designing primers against the regions where there is a possibility of a formation of secondary structure. The next factor is cross homology, and that needs to be avoided. To improve the specificity of the primers, it is necessary to avoid regions of homology, and the primer is designed for a sequence must not amplify other genes in the mixture. So cross homology means that primer should be specific to a particular sequence. If there is a homologous region in the same gene or in the same DNA, and if it binds there and amplify that one also, then that is another case of cross homology, where your primer will non-specifically amplify a non-target region or a homologous region which is not intended for amplification. So the primer should not have any cross homology, or in short we can say that your primer should be specific to your target and it should not match any other region. The primers designed for a sequence must not amplify other regions in the mixture. Commonly, Primers are designed and then blasted to test the specificity. And you know that BLAST is a bioinformatic tool to search a sequence against a set of database sequences to find matching regions or homologous regions or similar sequence regions in the database sequences. So if you have a primer which is designed in your hand, you can blast that sequence or search that sequence against the sequences which is present in the database to find any matches. So if it is matching or if it is having a sequence similarity only to your targeted gene, then that's a specific one. And if that primer is having some non-specific binding sites in the same chromosome or some other DNA, then you can say that this is not a specific primer. So after designing the primers, you need to blast the primer against some database sequences so that to ensure that your primer is specifically binding and amplifying only to the target and not to the other sequences which is present in the database. It will identify significant cross homologies in each template and avoid them during the primer design. Other considerations are amplicon length. Amplicon length is the length of the DNA product that is formed by PCR amplification, and the amplicon length is dictated by the experimental goals. For example, for qPCR, the target length is closer to 100 base pairs for the standard PCR, for quantitative PCR. It is, and for the standard PCR, it is near 500 base pairs. So, quantitative PCR, the target length should be 100 base pairs, and for the standard PCR, it should be 500 to 700 base pairs. That is the normal range for the PCR product of a standard PCR. If you know the position of each primer with respect to the template, the product is calculated as the product length equal to position of the antisense primer minus position of the sense primer plus 1. So that is the length of the product. For example, in a larger genome, maybe thousands of base pairs will be there, and each base will have its own number in the database. And maybe your gene may start from 1000 to 1000 and end at 5000. That may be the length. And in between that gene sequence, you need to amplify a sequence of 100 base pairs or 500 base pairs for a specific amplification. So in that case, you may decide to design a primer against the 1500th base pair to 2000th base pair. So you can calculate the product length based a product of the antisense primer, that is 2000 minus the starting point of the sense primer, that is 1500 plus 1. So which will give you the total length of the amplicon or the length of the product that is formed. So that is the equation for that. In between that, the point is that starting from the first base of the primer, forward primer, and ends at the first base of the reverse primer. So in between that two primers, the regions is amplified, and the length of the product that is formed can be calculated from this formula. Then product position is another factor. The primer can be located near the 5' and 3' end, or they can anywhere within this specified length of the DNA. So, for example, your gene may be of 2000 or 3000 base pair length, but your product or PCR product or target sequence may be only 500 to 700 base pair length. So that may be near the 5' end or the 3' end or in between. So wherever you decide, you can decide the starting and end points of that amplification, and in between that region, the product is amplified. So the product position, whether it is near the 5' end of the gene or 3' end of the gene, or in between the or in the middle part of the gene, that is decided based on the quality of the primer that you design. Then TM of the product is also important. Melting temperature, TM, is the temperature at which one half of the DNA duplex will dissociate and form a single stranded one. So the stability of the primer template DNA complex or duplex can be measured by melting temperature, that is a Tm. So the stability of this primer template binding or that DNA duplex is measured based on the Tm value of the primer. So these are various considerations while designing a primer. There are a lot of softwares like Primer Blast, Primer 3, IDT, CLC, DNA Star, GeneScript, Vectime TI, Perfect Primer. A lot of softwares are there into which you can give the target DNA sequence or the template DNA sequence. And for example, you are giving 2000 or 3000 base pair entire DNA sequence or gene sequence into the software, and it will suggest you the possible start and end regions of the amplicons from where to where you have to you will get a good primer, and what should be the sequence and length of the primer, and what is the GC content and TM value. Everything will be predicted from that primer design software. So we have a lot of such tools available for designing of the primers. But while designing the primer, what are the considerations that needs to be given for designing an optimal primer were discussed in this session. I think it is clear. Thank you.